The stitch we're going to learn now is backstitch, and I'll show you some examples of where I've used backstitch. So backstitch is the stitch I've used here, all along these stems. That's backstitch. But I've also used it, this stitch here, to fill this shape. That is actually backstitch as well. It's just used, I've gone right around the outside and then I've used it to fill in the inside as well. So that's quite a different effect that you can get from backstitch. It's the exact same stitch. It's also the stitch I've used on these other petals. So when I use the backstitch on these petals, I first go right around the outside. So I just make an outline around the outside using backstitch. And then I go around and around, sort of in a spiral, until I've completely filled up those shapes. So that's all backstitch, all the exact same stitch, which I'm going to show you now, can be used to create both those effects. Okay, so we'll get another piece of thread. I'm going to use this colour on this one to show you, just so that you can I think it'll be a bit easier to see than if I use the blue. So all our stitches start the same. We just use the thread, all 6 strands in the thread. Yep, so as I showed you in the getting started video, it's exactly the same, we just knot one end of the thread. And we want to start again, at least 5 centimetres from where we're going to start. So I'm going to use backstitch. For the demonstration, I'm going to imagine I was going to fill this shape here with backstitch, and I'll show you how I get started. But as I said, it's exactly the same as if you were going to use it to fill up the lines on a gum flower or something like that. Or if you just wanted to use it to go around a shape, there's lots of different options. So I'm going to go in from the front to the back again. And yeah, if you need more detail about this, make sure you look at the getting started video. Okay, and then I'm going to, I think it was this shape I said I was going to do, wasn't it? Okay, so I'm going to come up from the back to the front. And now I usually do each of them, you can do these stitches at any length. I usually do them about 1/2 centimetre, about 5 millimetres. So I've come up there and I'm going to do my stitches all around this way. That's the direction I'm going to go. So I'm going to do my first stitch, so I'm going to go back down through the fabric about 5 millimetres from where I started, about here. So it's called backstitch. The very first stitch you do is a forward stitch, and then now we're going to do the back stitch. So I've done one stitch now. Now when I come back through from the back to the front, I want to come through another 5 millimetres or whatever length stitch you've decided away from where I finished. So hopefully you can see that. So I'm coming up here, and then this is where it gets its name. So we're going to go back into the end of that first stitch. So I've come up here and now I'm going to go back and I'm going to go down through there. Ideally through the same hole if you can. And then when I come up again, I'm going to come up again 5 millimetres away from where that stitch is, leaving that gap. Come up here and then back down through where the last stitch ended. And you just repeat this. So it's just that first stitch that is a forward stitch, and then all the rest after that are the back stitches. So up, and then back down through there again. And again, as with satin stitch, you just keep going until you're either finished or you run out of thread. And again, look at the starting and finishing video for how you finish and start a new piece of thread. I'll just do one more, and then you'll be able to see the whole line that I've created there. And yeah, if you're just doing straight lines, it's obviously fairly straightforward what you would do. I've done a straight line there. If you're going to use it to fill the shape, I find it best to do the outside first, so I would just keep going around until I've gone all the way around that shape, and then I start in, and I try and offset them a bit. So I'd start in and then go around like that, and around until you come into the, until you've filled it all, and that's how you create the texture that I showed you before.